Unfiltered. Different, like you're in another world, like you zone out. You know what I'm saying?
Hello and welcome to Unfiltered. I am your host, GeorgiiSpeakman, and today's episode is a very special one. Not only because I have my dear friend MeoshaBean in the studio with me today, all the way from LA, but it was also Meosha's birthday yesterday. She turned 21 all over again. But it was also, unfortunately, the loss of my 100-year-old grandfather. Fortunately, from the perspective that he passed beautifully in a state of peace and humility. And so this episode is not only dedicated to Meosha's birthday, but the passing of my grandfather, Noel Taplin. Welcome to the show today, Meosha. It's such a pleasure to have you here, babe.
Thank you for having me. I'm so glad to be here. This feels great. I mean, this is awesome. Look at you. Check you out.
I asked for 12 more, but Pete said he could only compromise and stick to the 4 screens.
Four is
Unfiltered.
Four is great.
So I'm really delighted to have you here today because we've been longtime friends. Meosha and I have known each other for, I don't know, nearly a decade, not quite. We first met at Soho House in LA.
The bougiest place ever.
And we have always had this incredible connection. We've come from different sides of the world, opposite sides of the fence. I'm a little bit older than Meosha, if you can't tell. But we've always just had this organic, incredible friendship and connection. How do we explain it, Memo?
Honestly, when we first met, it was like literally when I first met you in Soho House, I'll never forget it. Like I instantly knew, I was like, she's going to be my person. And we just never really connected ever since then.
And, you know, she is such, our friendship is incredible medicine. We've just had this incredible connection from day one. And those types of relationships and friendships are so, so special. And because of this friendship, we've always had this incredible opportunity to converse on so many different subject matter, from race, politics, love, relationships, art, film, everything in between, families, past, like the list goes on. So we're going to get into all of that and more today. We've got zero direction. We're literally just going to riff and just be ourselves today. And I'm going to start the interview, this dialogue, this conversation, by asking, what does it mean now and today to be MeoshaBean? And what is your mission? What are you standing for now and today?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll answer by saying I definitely know my mission now is definitely more. Honestly, I really just want to learn more, explore. I love film. I'm a filmmaker. That's who I am. But that's not all of who I am. I feel like as I get older.
Who are you?
I want to. I'm a person that just wants to learn and grow. Like I'm on this journey of being able to create, but having dialogue to that brings healing universally, not just for myself, but I feel like conversations are the key to, at least for me. I'm a podcast nutcase. So this is just great.
Yes, you are. It's really cool because Meosha, yes, as you heard, she's a filmmaker. She's done acting, writing, directing, all the rest, but she's had this podcast, Creators to Creators, for 6 years, and Unfiltered has been around for maybe 6 or so weeks.
Wow.
So a bit of a difference, but we're on similar journeys, but still very different. Yeah. And I've loved watching you grow in that time and evolve. And in fact, just yesterday, Meosha spoke on a panel at a film festival. She accepted yet another award. She's produced, directed rather, a lot of horror films, and all the rest. But I love the fact that, like me, you love to elevate the voices of others. You love to elevate the conversation and also neutralize the conversation so that people, to have relatable dialogue so that people can learn and grow through that along with yourself. Like, it's the best way to learn, by having curiosity and exploring different subject matter in all of these realms: entrepreneurship, creativity, all the rest.
Yeah. I mean, I love that. It's so vital. It's important because if we want change, especially what we're trying to do, whatever at least for me in this industry that we're in, there's a lot of changes that needs to happen. And the only way we're going to get to those changes is if we have dialogue and conversation and people that are willing to hear out, what's the problem? Like, okay, this is the problem. All right, so how do we fix it? And so I'm really on that journey, and I'm such an advocate for that.
Yeah, I mean, you and I have had this conversation about LA and the entertainment industry now for some time. You know, I obviously left after 8 years of being there, just because when the pandemic hit, you know, I had to reassess priorities. What's really important to me next? In my case, it was buying a house. I couldn't leave the country for 3 years to secure my green card throughout that process. I wanted to nest in a place that was more chill, low key, all that kind of stuff, and also set myself up to buy a home. Atlanta became the city that drew me here to achieve some of those goals. Amazing nature, second largest, or possibly going on to be the largest in some respects because of Triller Town, Triller Studios being the largest movie studio in North America now, with the largest green screen in the world housed here in Georgia. A lot of those things that are happening and growing, but
You're doing amazing, by the way.
it was a challenging decision to leave LA and let it go, because you do feel like you're leaving a big part of yourself that you've hustled on and for so long, and then now you're facing your exit to LA, you know, and you two have been there for a number of years. I did 8. How many years have you been there? Like 10 or no? What was it?
Longer. Like,
Oh, holy shit.
It's almost 14.
Holy cow pants,
I'm
babe.
tired.
You're tired?
Tired.
Well, we're both a bit effing dusty today. I'm not going to lie.
No, I'm just
We
tired of
obviously
it.
celebrated her birthday last night, so I'm surprised we've shown up, to be honest.
We're here. No, I'm just like honestly tired of the Hollywoodness, you know, like the it's the game that, I mean, we love this business, but it's just it's politics, of course, but it's just at some point it's like I want to get off this hamster wheel, you know, and as much as I love it, and I had so many amazing friendships and, you know, connections. I met you there. I mean, it's amazing. There's some positives too in it, but I think for me, I'm in a different place, and it just doesn't feel the same for me, soully wise as well. Like my soul does not. I'm looking for something else and more.
Yes, I remember in the pandemic, I literally was laying on my couch, may have had a little smoky wokey, and staring up at the ceiling thinking, if I stay here any longer, I think my heart and soul is going to die a slow death. And I think it already had been. I think it was a matter of like going, I think I've given so much of this city, but this city just keeps taking from you. It's never enough. And I think, you know, exhausting yourself in the scene is amazing, but it's such an ecosystem, and you become a slave to the LA system if you really want it, and then you have to really compromise parts of yourself on an ongoing basis, and you have to be okay with yourself in doing that. I mean, you see so many of these celebrities. You and I have had this conversation 1,000 times. We're seeing the demise of Hollywood in so many ways, and energetically I could feel this city almost like sinking. I was like, this is the beginning of its end, is what I felt through the apocalypticness of LA in the pandemic, where you've got 50 million helicopters flying overhead, protests in the street, Black Lives Matters going on, all those protests, everything, all the voices screaming from the rooftops, so much conflict, change in politics, just so much controversy happening. And you're like, oh my God, this is literally like the set of a movie. It's literally like the set of the movie. It's Hollywood. It's home to the movie industry. It felt so surreal. But just at that time, I remember thinking this city is done. And since then, the pandemic crushed it in so many ways. You've had the writer and director strikes. You've had so many fires. You've had the demise of the Harvey Weinstein. I think that was in the lead up to COVID though. And now Diddy, and so much more is coming to light. I know that you've got a lot of thoughts on a lot of these sort of events and conspiracy theories, and so share some of those.
I am definitely a bit of a conspiracy theorist. I think there's something to it. You know, the longer you stay, and then being in the industry, you see certain things, and then you kind of, at some point, you start to question things. You're like, I don't think this is a conspiracy. It seems pretty real to me. Like shouldn't be happening, you know?
Right.
And
Can you give an example?
Gosh, I mean, which
Just
just
like, where do
even
I
the
start?
Diddy thing, you know, we can go with that. I mean, it's unfortunate, and again, you can say that he chose that life, kind of in a way he did, but when you do play the game, at some point the game's going to beat you, or you beat the game, or whatever. You know what
Or
I'm
you
saying?
end up getting used as a pawn. So you've been
Exactly.
used as a pawn this entire time, and then when they decide they want to take you down just to hide, like to distract the truth and the focus on somebody else, just like they did with Epstein.
Epstein.
You know,
I mean, he just supposedly committed suicide. I mean, it just starts at some point. You start to think and question. I mean, there's so many stories that are relatively the same. I mean, it's kind of what Dave Chappelle said. He says, it's really dismissive to call someone crazy when you don't know, right, what they're going through. Like the whole Martin Lawrence, the actor. He said that people were saying, oh, he's crazy for running across the street and saying they're trying to, because he was saying that they're trying to kill me. And he said it's not crazy. I think the Hollywood is just the environment. It's just a little sick. It's just not well.
Well, I wrote a book, My American Dream, and I wrote in that book, I referenced the fact that, in Hollywood, the sun is always shining, the palm trees are always standing tall, but there's a serpent energy that is simmering beneath the surface, and it creeps up on you so slowly.
Yes.
And it wraps itself around you before you know it. You watch so many people change in Hollywood over time. They've come from interstate, overseas, wherever they've come in from. Doesn't matter locals, but if they're pursuing certain careers in the field of entertainment, I've seen it so many times where eventually it's almost like their eyes and soul turn a bit black. Like they go, that there's a part of them, their soul leaves, and they're just taken over by a different kind of energy and entity that swarms around Los Angeles. And it's like such an illusion, Hollywood.
It is. It's that theory of like I always say, like, it's the Wizard of Oz theory. You get to the wonderful Wizard of Oz. You get there, and then you're like, oh, it's not what I thought it was.
Totally.
You know what I'm saying?
Totally. I still laugh at like going to LA with stars in my eyes for somewhat of a Hollywood dream, but not, I was on a business visa, so I couldn't do anything but work in business, just like legally, period. But even just working on the business side of the industry, by deliberation, wanting to really explore and understand the inner workings of Hollywood and how, you have a perception as to how things might be, how they might be run. And I think the realities of working in Hollywood behind the scenes in the level, at the highest of levels, whether it's in that talent agency environment or working for top tier celebrities, the rumors, it's far worse in reality than often what you actually read about, because you're the one that has to endure the instances and the experiences day in, day out. And that truly impacts your nervous system, your mental and emotional state.
Yeah.
Not to mention the journey of immigration on top of that. But so what takeaways then with Hollywood in your journey over these 14 years would you say have helped define you in the most positive of ways? And then what are you not going to miss? Besides from everything we've just talked about.
Yeah, I mean, the positive is that it's obviously it's the mecca, right, of what I was looking for, what was to get in the business. And I will say, I've connected and have so many amazing memories. I've shot so many films there and worked with so many talented people, and I do believe there's some really good people that are there. Like absolutely, and I
met you out there.
I can't crap on Los Angeles.
No.
I'm just saying, like,
There's obviously amazing people
it's
and
great.
amazing energy at times out there too. Obviously, dichotomous in nature.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say that I've gotten ahead. I mean, amazing opportunities there, and I will say that's what I have gained for sure. Like a good portfolio.
Right, because it wouldn't have happened out of Alabama
or anywhere
or
else.
Florida or anywhere else, that in the country necessarily that doesn't have that infrastructure to support those dreams.
So you kind of need it. You need to go. I mean, I think I tell anyone like, definitely go for yourself, but just don't get caught up in the
it's impossible not to, though.
It's hard. It's really hard because, like we said, it's a serpent, and it's like you don't know that you're being
pulled into it.
It's so weird.
It's
It's like almost like you're being hypnotized.
Yeah, 100%.
And you wake up and you forget about it.
Right, and I know it's like you've been. Yeah, it's weird. It's very hard to explain. And when people visit, they're like, oh, but I really like LA. I'm like, no, honey. You haven't been in the bowels of the industry where you've had to deal with certain characters and prototypes of humans day in, day out for years on end. that's a different beast.
That's what I'm not gonna miss.
Carry on. So yeah, you've had opportunity, and then what would you say? How has it greatly defined you as a human being, as a creator, that you're proud of?
Gosh, I mean, you know, I with even the bad situations that I experienced, I will say that's where I grew like the most.
Definitely.
You know, so I can't say I don't.
Yeah.
Oh, I hate it. Like, you know, but I will say I'm glad I had to go through it, honestly, in order to be like, if I want to be somewhere in the industry, you're gonna have those pitfalls that you're gonna come against, and I feel like for me, that's I learned so much of like what I'm not willing to do because of the situations, or how like you know, different forms of things that, like, I remember working for a company and I saw like how kids were being taken advantage of, and I was like, yeah, that's not what I'm gonna do. Like, if I ever get those opportunities.
You were exposed to an environment like that?
Oh yeah, I was working for a company, well, I will keep nameless, but the director was very touchy with this child, and the child was like not even 12, I guess, not like, maybe like 11. But it was just weird. It made me feel uncomfortable.
Wow.
And I was like, yeah, there's something.
Wow.
I'm not going to have that
right under your
on my
nose.
sets,
Still, yeah.
You know.
Wow.
And yeah, what do you do? You know, you just have to stay in your lane, unpack, and then go home.
Yeah.
But this kid, we don't know.
And so then, what are you looking forward to in terms of like exiting LA? What does this new chapter look like for you?
Oh God, it feels. Honestly, I think we were talking about it a little bit. Like, it feels like I can see the light at the end of the tunnel. For me, at least, you know, I've lived a great, and again, I've worked many places other than Los Angeles, but like, I lived the facade for so long. Did the LA thing? I kind of fell into that a little bit.
It sucks that you have to say facade, because I think so many creators go there to live their truest, like live a dream that is in alignment with their truest selves and their highest versions of their creative and artistic selves. But you said facade, and that's what you end up seeing with so many people, right?
So many people.
You probably are not going to miss it, correct?
No, not that. And I think that can be anywhere. I think, I'm sure that's in Atlanta too.
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
I'm sure that's especially the business that we're in. I think that it's the biggest, the most, I would say, narcissist people that I've ever met. This business, it's like so many of, it's like, how
Rampant.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And it's really hard to make really authentic connection with people in the business. So I just, for me, I'm just like, I feel great though, where I can actually see a way out. The things that, like, I'm pivoting my life right now. I'm still doing movies and stuff. I'm going to always do films, but the conversation's just different. I know what I want to do. I don't want to play the game. I'm off the hamster wheel, and it feels great to be my own person and think for myself, like, honestly.
Right, as opposed to constantly having to
bend for someone.
Yeah, bend for the industry, bend for the culture of the industry.
Oh, yeah, and it's exhausting.
And so you're returning to the South, Boo. So what are you looking forward to the most about returning to the South? Because you're originally from Florida. Florida, and then what perhaps are you not looking forward to as well?
Ooh, I'm looking forward to get back in touch with my roots, you know, of course, and it's really cool to see family, you know, and friends and that I have out here, and you know, yeah, just that Southern hospitality. I really I miss that. It's, you know, good food. You get your fat in the South.
No, like our breakfast this morning.
Yeah, but what I'm not looking forward to, man, that's a lot. I'd say the how do I say this? I would say I don't know. I feel like the South for me, growing up, Florida, I would say, I will start there. I felt like people were very much in a victim mentality kind of
Just come
place.
on all the way out with it, Meosha. Please don't hold back. This is unfiltered and
Okay,
unfiltered
that's
conversation
right. I forgot.
after all.
Unfiltered, that's right, that's right.
Unfiltered. Give it to me. Give it to me.
I got you. I'm gonna give it to you. I honestly think that it's just people blame.
What are you trying to say? Say it.
Well, okay, a lot of people. I would say a lot of my people, we love to stay in a victim mentality. We're saying, oh, we're not ahead because of this, we're this and this and this. And I feel like, and we don't want to work together. That's one thing I've noticed a lot of times.
Really?
Like, I'm not saying in a way like we don't work together. We do, but I feel like a lot
Pete,
of
you're
times
fired.
is, I feel like a lot of times we're kind of like against each other sometimes, and I hate that we have to be that way in the South sometimes. Like I've noticed this.
I've heard this too.
You know, I'm just trying to change that dialogue. So hopefully, you know, that's what I want to do when I get here is like figure out how we can merge and talk and not fall into those pitfalls.
It's very interesting that you raised that and you've brought that to the forefront of the conversation today. Mm-hmm. That's a very interesting perspective, and I really appreciate you raising it. I don't know if you're not on TikTok because you got banned and fired from TikTok for unruly behavior. Completely unruly behavior. She was just kicked off.
So bad.
Kicked off. No, you got hacked, right?
Yeah.
But it's a good, interesting place for like random cultural content. Mm-hmm. It does get overzealous sometimes, but one topic that's floating around once again is why, the question is like, why are we reverting to the race conversation, number one? And then another one is there's a lot of, content from black, brown folk that are blaming white people for a lot of things. There are a lot of people exploring a lot of conversations on both sides of the fence. There's a black content creator, I can't remember his name, that features black folk giving shit to white people. And then he takes the piss out of them. There's just so many different layered angles of that type of content that's suddenly reappearing again. And you have to wonder why we keep going through the same cycles. And in fact, story time. So I'm going to actually give this context because this is actually a good segue. Yeah. Ever since I was 5, I grew up going, Mummy, Daddy, I'm going to live in America, da-da-da-da-da. Had a challenging upbringing, a lot of pain in the home, all that kind of stuff, but always a big lover of the arts. So music, film, TV, all the things. But the thing that I consumed the most of as a kid and teenager was anything I could of black culture. Mm-hmm. And hip hop was one of the things that I absorbed the most growing up. And I would often fall asleep in my teenage years and just listening to hip hop and relating to a lot of the struggles, the pain that was expressed in the lyricism and in that music. And of course, I love a fucking bass line and just, dope beats, period. But relating to that made me feel more at home than my own environment did. And so growing up, I wanted to escape what I felt was a suffocating home life and suffocating culture, to move to America, to be closer to my people, meaning black and brown folk, right? Mm-hmm. So when I got to America, I never even thought that racism still existed in America. I thought in my mind that everybody was free and open. I was like, great, let me go home to where I belong. And I have learned so much through the ignorance of this journey and then learning bit by bit from having worked with the likes of Jay-Z, having launched a startup for him, working in that environment, working in so many different types of environments, often being the only white woman, but often only white person in a room for years and years, engaging in 1,001 different conversations with African American folk, Caribbean folk, all different races and nationalities and cultures mixed in, trying to understand their experiences, their attitudes, their perspectives, and going out of my way to intentionally understand what their journey has been like, right? To continue to naturally find myself gravitating more towards black and brown folk and mixed folk. I've barely had any or many white American friends in this country. I don't know why or why not, or why that has just happened that way. I've often tried and just found that I've related better to black, brown, mixed folks, African American, Caribbean, whatever labels people want to give themselves, because everybody's got a different perspective. But that's just where I've landed. Now, LA was one thing, and sure, I had certain experiences that were expressions of hatred or dislike towards me for being perhaps the only white person in a room. And then moving to the South, I had all my black mates from LA go, "Oh, you're gonna hate all these white, stuffy, uptight, racist people of the South." I'm like, "Oh, I've got this. I can handle those folks." To come to the South, to realize so many black folk fucking hate white people and don't want anything to do with them, not in business, not in whatever. And then I've just witnessed in the South astronomical amounts of still separation or segregation, whatever word you feel more comfortable using. And people are like, "Well, duh, welcome to the fucking South." And I'm like, but what decade are we fucking living in?
Exactly. I kid you not. When I go to visit like some of my family, like back in sometimes, and I have my parents moved to Alabama, right? And so I go and see them often, and we hang out. But I always say, I don't know what is in the water. It's something like what anyone's drinking, but it feels like I stepped into a time machine, and
1925.
I'm like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
do we really think this way still? And I always, I talked to my mom. I was like, "Mom, do you feel that way?" She's like, "Yeah, it's kind of crazy." She's like, she was talking to somebody, and it felt like like they were like very much talking about old times of like as if they were slaves. I'm just like, what is this? I'm not saying everyone, but I hear it, I see it, and I'm just thinking, you're okay. Like we're not. We're free. We don't have to think that way anymore, or even, you know what I'm saying? Like those kind of things. And I think it's like we just said about LA. I think certain places you go to, it's just whatever the thing is for over the city, it rains. Does that make sense?
Yeah, there's an energy. There's always energy is
Yeah.
very ever present, obviously. Like everything is matter. Everything is energy. And there is that residual energy from the past, no doubt. That's why so many of us leave where we come from, because we want to start afresh and we're looking for new energy so that we can grow and evolve within that ecosystem and dynamic of that new energy. But it is just interesting to me that I came here just personally with such an open heart and love for black folk, to have my like serious slap in the face to realize, wow, there's still so much hatred that exists between skin colors.
It's so
which
silly.
trips me out, because I just see us all as people, and it comes down to the energy of the individual. And the discovery that I have made through all these conversations that I've had over the years is that not one perspective is the same, which means that there is no universal fact or truth. It's about choice, and it's about perspective. So some might feel still enslaved. Some might feel elevated and have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. I dated a black man when I first got to Atlanta, and he said, "I don't identify with this version of black culture being the trap culture of hip hop."
Okay.
He was like, growing up in the Northeast, different, worked in intelligence, worked in different industries, and just had a whole other perspective on black culture. And so my point is, and I could go on and on and on about my girlfriend, an artist that I used to manage, who's written for everyone: Katy Perry, Rihanna, Jay-Z, Miley Cyrus, a bunch of different people. She's Haitian, but people mistake her obviously for an African American woman. But she's like, I've never thought of myself as African American, and I would never date an African American man.
Interesting.
Because of the stereotypes that come along with the way they're seen, or the experiences she's had. But I mean, she's Haitian, but she grew up in Brooklyn, New York.
Okay.
So my point is that everybody's got a different experience and choice. Then you've got mixed friends that might have a white mum or a white dad, but they're still dark. Or like my friend, Dwayne, he's very dark skinned, but his grandparents are fucking white like me. And so then you hear different perspectives from his angle and his lineage and history. But the point is that ultimate message and goal, though, is how do we, and this has always been the question of like, how do we end the hatred? How do we end the separation? How do we end the judging people, making assumptions? they say assumptions are the mother of all fuck ups, and you should never judge a book by its cover. Yeah. We're all human beings at the end of the day, but how do we stop all the things, right?
Well, we get rid of the media.
Get rid of the
They
media.
control.
All the
social
propaganda.
media. It's really propaganda is what controls our thoughts and mindsets, the things that we see, what we put inside of our system. And so we actually, the more you look at that, you start to believe it. You start to believe the stereotype. You start to believe like, oh yeah, they're against us. Let's hate them. Let's hate people. Let's keep this race stuff going. And then, of course, on the other side, that's what Black people do. And it's like this whole thing. And honestly, it's propaganda at its finest. And the people, the powers that be who control the world, knows this. And they know if we could keep them separated and keep the race war going,
the race war for sure,
we win.
100%.
Every time, because it's lucrative for them. They make money.
Right. And I had a random dialogue with a guy on TikTok. This guy from Detroit. We had found ourselves commenting on similar content on TikTok. He ended up inboxing me, and we got into a dialogue. And I said to him, "It kills me that so many, again, Black, brown folk, whatever." Like appropriate labels how you made the comment this morning that a friend of yours is like, I'm not Black, don't call me Black, but you were saying he is, anyway, it's personal preferences, like whatever, different strokes for different folks. But it kills me that if anything, I've learned that so many Black folk undervalue their power, their sheer beauty and power. And so many of them don't realize how powerful they are, and that they are stuck actually in their own victim mentality. It's not actually white people keeping them down. It's their own mentality. It is the same fucking thing regarding my upbringing. When you come from a challenging, without going into all the details, I've fought my whole life, not only with working, but to overcome the hatred, the neglect and rejection I've felt my whole life. And I've had to start life out again to find my own voice. I've had to fend for myself. No one's handed me anything on a fucking platter. I've worked for every last thing that I have. I've worked harder than just about everybody I know. But yet there's still always going to be that perception that just because I'm an attractive enough white person, that somehow I am privileged. And I know that there are layers to that dialogue.
And you carry yourself well, you know what I'm saying?
But the point is, it's a choice, because I could have remained in a completely different victim mentality. I could have become a mad drug addict. I could have made super shitty choices and decisions. I could be a really shitty person in so many ways, but I've made different choices. So what's your perspective on the choice component of this dialogue, this ecosystem? Again, knowing that there are so many different layers to this conversation that you couldn't possibly cover all the different components and layers of it in like one conversation.
No. I mean, it's an ongoing dialogue, and I think really what it is, and everything you said, absolutely correct. I 100% agree with you. It is a choice. Everything is choice. I can choose to believe and stay in this, when I say victim mentality, like this mindset of, woe is me kind of thing of like, I'm not going to be able to get this because they don't like me. Well, that's my perception of what I think I am. So I have to change it. We are the masteries of our own lives, and until we actually know ourselves. So I think I always tell people, like, go and seek, find yourself, go. It's an ongoing journey until the day we die, because we're always evolving, or at least I hope so, But I think once that happens, then that's how we become bigger and know that we are great. And a lot of times for me, when I talk to, a lot of Black people, I feel like when we have conversations, we do talk about these things of like, how do we, this is pinned up against us. They're not going to hire us because, they already think we're drug dealers or whatever. And I'm like, well, how about this? But you are you bought the drug. No, you didn't. Yeah, I've tried drugs. No, but you know what I'm saying? Like it's, and I'm like, if you buy into that, then that's what you're going to believe. Again, it starts here. And as long as I believe that I am this and this and this and this is what history told us, historically, that's what the history books are. We are introduced to the race war when we are kids in school from
Yes.
books. It's the teaching. They're teaching us this mentality. They're putting us information in our subconscious.
Yes.
And we're living it as we
Particularly in
continue on.
America. So
In
you
America,
guys grew up with
particularly.
it. And that's why I came with stars in my eyes, a completely fresh, uneducated view to this country. But it was fresh. That means my heartscape was open to receive and experience with a completely clean set of eyes. And I think that maybe on a soul level, I was born, because I used to always question, like, why the hell was I born in Australia when I've always felt this massive attraction and connection to America, and then again black culture. How have I ended up in Australia? But I think that the journey happened just so I could come here, so I could have these experiences through a fresh set of eyes without having grown up with the indoctrination that everybody has in this country. Because I know that if I grew up, say, in Los Angeles as a child, or New York as a child, or the South, obviously not only would my perspective and experiences be so different, but whether it was the South versus the West Coast, it would be significantly different. Again, I would be such a different person, you know?
100%.
Yeah. 100%. And I think to your point, like when you do therapy in life, one of the first things a therapist is going to tell you is you have to let go. You can't, ruminate on the past. You can't keep blaming whoever has afflicted, no matter what, no matter how bad or painful to you in your past. You have to take responsibility no matter what has been afflicted onto you. And so the same concept applies, that if we don't take on that mentality of I can do this, or, on my own, or I have a choice to change my perspective, my reality. It's also called the power of manifestation, right?
Yes.
So to your point, you said and I literally got a tattoo at 15, meaning master in Japanese and God in Chinese. But I got it because of what I was going through as a kid, and I was like, nah, fuck this, fuck you. I'm the master of my fucking self. No one's going to tell me how to live my life. But I was still very much under the thumb at that age and stage. But I got that as a symbol to tell myself I have to be responsible for mastering my own reality, no matter what has been,
Put against you.
put upon me. And that's it's the same mentality applies, that if we don't stop, if we ruminate on the past, how are we going to move forward? How are you going to evolve? How are you going to find the answers?
We never will. And that's the reason why the powers that be continue this, because they know if we okay, the Wizard of Oz concept. I keep saying that because I feel like it's so powerful story. Even though it's a great classic, but if you think about it, the lion already had courage. He didn't need to go to some guy to ask him to
the little lion.
You know
brain.
what I mean? Yeah. They already had the things within them already.
I know.
So
That's
I
what
think.
mean. Can't you see how amazing you are?
Yeah, that's it.
Love. It comes down to loving yourself more, and we all have to work on it.
We all have to.
I remember when I was 5, and my father, I asked him for $5 to go and buy lollies up the street, and he said, Georgie, if you want a fucking penny, go out and fucking earn it. And I've never forgotten it, and I've been working since I was 12. And I have adopted that mentality of like, no one's coming for me. No one's going to fucking save me. He also raised me, Georgie, you must have your own money. Don't ever rely on a man for money. Don't do that. And I'm so grateful amidst the controversies of my upbringing, which are very layered and heavy. That is the lightest part of the upbringing that I'm grateful for, because it gave me that drive to, I want better, I need better, I can do better, and having to fight off that horrible battle with self-esteem. And every last bit of everyone's journey always comes back to how much do you fucking love yourself, and how willing are you, how hard are you willing to go for that journey in self-love? Because if you can love, the more you love yourself, the hands down, facts, the more you're going to be capable of loving others.
Absolutely. And that is how, because love is the only answer.
Yeah, literally.
You know what I'm saying? And I think, And I think, unfortunately, I know we're all in our lives and everybody has their things and life is whatever. Life is life for all of us.
Yeah.
But it's like,
Non-stop.
we got to remember we control this. It's like when we want. My mindset of I want it to be in Hollywood so bad growing up. Right, I got there, and I get it, and I'm thinking I get there, and you're like, oh, it's not what I thought it was, and it's such a letdown because you're
such
it's like womp womp.
Hollywood, you're fired.
You're just like, oh man, this was like the way they sell it.
Oh, I know.
So
I know.
It's brilliant.
I know, it's brilliant.
It's
brilliant. It's the most attractive candy cave on planet Earth.
I remember going down the street of when I first got to Hollywood. I remember going down the street of Hollywood, and I'm like, I got this whole thing. If I could make it anywhere, I'm all in my head, just dancing, and I'm looking around. I'm just like, and there's like some homeless guy peeing on the street on the stars.
I had
just
one.
like.
I had Meosha, just quickly side note, when my first weekend in Hollywood, I remember this guy was standing in the traffic lights, and this homeless guy came up to me and then just pulled it out, started pissing right at my feet.
No.
And I was like, welcome to Hollywood.
It's all uphill from here, huh?
Can only be uphill from you, babe.
It's like, but that's like that mindset of like, I bought into that is the same mindset of my identity. I buy into what they tell us that I am. I'm like, oh, so a lot of people do that. They believe what they see. Social media is the devil. I'm convinced. I love social media, but I have a love-hate for relationship with it. Like, there's so many things online.
I think everyone does, yeah.
It's like, you have to disconnect. It's important. And connect in like the real world, like life.
For sure. There's a thing, brain rot. It's just literally messing with our minds, There's that conspiracy theory that came out recently that Mark Zuckerberg was a Rothschild.
Who knows?
And how he was, all of it was a fallacy, and Facebook was really just a call to actually collect data. It was all like a huge setup.
I honestly feel like they
inception.
told us that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
But they're like, but who knows? It's a conspiracy theory. You're like,
I know, right? You never know. Like, are we all crazy that these are conspiracy theories, or are they all just truth? It's like full-blown hardcore fact.
It's like right in your face.
Right, slapping us right in the face, and we're like, no,
it's not
he's
true.
a conspiracy theorist. She's a conspiracy. No, it's actually all effing true. It's crazy.
I feel like if we actually knew the reality of everything, it would blow our minds. Just how when Diddy thing came out, I was surprised. I was like, no, I love Diddy, and I know, like as far as like his music, contribute to music, he had some bops, like he has some good music now, but like just finding out all the other things that you hear, and then there's a bit about that of like, well, they destroyed him, and because he was trying to take over and get some
Correct.
some
That's
things.
what I mean.
And here's the thing, who knows? Who knows? But then there's the footage of other things that he's done. It's like it looks really bad,
Yeah, for sure.
But who knows?
I know who knows what it's all about, for sure. Your journey is really interesting because I've asked you as a friend many, many times over many years,
I'm like, where's this going?
have you experienced racism yourself? And you've always told me no, that you've never experienced racism. And this is what I mean by everyone having a different perspective and a different experience. And if there was one thing in life that was truth or fact, then why is everybody different? Why does everyone have a different experience if it was fact?
Well,
Truth is it's not, but I want to hear your thoughts and your experiences on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say that. Listen, I understand what a lot of our people had to go through. I haven't went through it personally, but I'm saying like like our ancestors, people before us, what they had to do to get here to be where they are. It's absolutely amazing, revolutionary. Like the things that just in spite of like so strong, just to continue on. I love this. It's beautiful. I'm not ever saying that didn't happen. What I'm saying is, okay, now what? That's kind of where I am of like, how do we continue to build and grow? But with the racism thing, that's very interesting because I've never experienced it myself because I feel like I feel like it's like the concept of like, if I'm so worried about getting kidnapped or somebody, eventually that I'm gonna attract someone. I'm gonna attract that in my life. Like if I'm always worried about like, oh my God, I better keep my purse, close, and I gotta watch my back because people can still. Well, I'm actually putting that in my subconscious. Whatever you put and download into your subconscious, you can attract that. Words are power. Even if whatever you speak out can happen. I don't dwell on things of like, oh, someone doesn't like me, or oh, there's this race thing. I don't think of it.
I do.
No. See, maybe that's
Now.
probably why
Now.
it comes.
Now. And I'll tell you why. Only because coming with such open eyes and an open mind, I'm like, hey, it's me. I love you. And I, all the things. Like here I am, tell me all about you. Tell me about your life and let's dance. Let's I don't know, have all of the experiences together. And then over time, when certain things happen, it chips away. And so now now I've got the back foot. Now I will sometimes be on my back foot. I'm like, are you cool with me? Are you going to be okay? Or are you going to have
Like you're more cautious.
Yeah,
about
and
stuff now.
then you can walk into one room and it is all love, hardcore love, incredible love, and you're like, yeah, I'm home and I feel home. And then other times you walk into your room and you're like, whoa, I am not wanted here. I am not liked here, and I haven't even opened my goddamn mouth.
Well, and that's sad. It's unfortunate, but I'm sorry that you had to experience that. But I feel like I've been in rooms where I would say I've had it with a lot of, because I work with a lot of men. It's always sexualized. That happens
Because you're
a
a hot
lot.
little Somali.
Oh, well, thanks. Thank you. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, that's what happens to me in this business or just anywhere. Like, I want to have.
I think that's just being a female.
Is it?
I think
Is
so
it?
many. Yeah, I think it happens a lot. But you are gorgeous. I mean, inside and out. So of course you're gonna be stuck in that position of where you're gonna get sexualized a lot.
Here's a fun fact. I don't know if you know this, but I actually started to dress, even in the business. I used to do this.
You told me this.
I used to do what this was here.
You started dressing more
Masculine.
Yeah, more street, or just like low key down.
Covered up. I'm like, I should not get anything. I shouldn't get anything.
Then you attracted all the
I'm
lesbians.
like, well,
Hollywood.
what the heck? You're darned if
power.
you do, you're darned if you don't, kind of thing, You're just trying to.
There's always someone after you in Hollywood.
Leave me alone.
It's just a different breed of human that's going to come after you, no matter what. That's interesting.
Crazy, huh?
Yeah.
Doesn't work.
Well, so what does this mean going forward? Like, how can we all do better? What's your advice to everybody that you've had these types of conversations with? What would be your advice to someone like me and anyone else that is on your heart, that weighs heavy on your heart, that you want to inspire for the better?
Find your why, why you do something. Once you find that, just go after that relentlessly and continue pursuing that and just be honest. I think it's a checking in with self, reevaluating, just keep making sure what your mission is in life, what that is. I don't know what that is for everyone, but I just want to continue to have good conversations, and maybe through this, someone else is going to say, hey, I want to make some changes in my life. I never thought of it that way. Oh, okay. And I feel like that's how we all can be connected and reunited somehow. So, my thing is just find out your why and do it.
I love that. And what are the final words for the listeners today? Do you have to impart? I feel like you've got so many beautiful gems to share. So much on your heart.
Live, my motto.
Yes.
Love, laugh. That's what life is about. If you're not doing that, gotta figure it out. You got a problem. So just try your best to raise your vibration every day, because life is too short.
Did you say it's a matter of understanding, knowing that? I think, they say ignorance is bliss, but I think it is very troublesome from the perspective that it continues to encourage divide. So I think going forth with the understanding that every single one of us is fundamentally the same. We all have a brain, we all have a heart, soul, a mind. And if we choose to just be open to understanding, and it's almost like calming our egos and opening our hearts and leaning into love more, to really understand, through that openness we'll grow. Through that, and again, that's a choice, right? Carrying hate on your heart, carrying hate for anyone or anything, including yourself, is a very heavy business to be in. It's a very heavy game to play, an incredibly heavy one. And unfortunately, you're going to be the only one that suffers through that process. And so, like, would you agree that it's just stepping more into light and love, and that every single one of us on planet Earth is always going to be battling the light and the dark, the good and the bad, the hate and the love.
Yeah. For the until the end of
Until
time.
the end of time.
So I think it's like, when you look at it that way, you're just like, well, if that's the case, then YOLO, get love.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? We're on this journey, and we that's what the mission is, and it's like you said something. It's too much work to hate. It seems like it's a
so
lot.
Exhausting, man.
Right? Like,
Who's got the fucking time and energy for it?
I don't. I'm getting older. I don't have time.
Yeah. It's a hard enough journey to sustain the self-love, and it's always hard to, the saying, always come back to love, not just for yourself, but for your partner, for family, for friends, for life. Like that you have to work on those things all the time. So who has the energy to hate? What is the point, right? Because it's going to be there anyway.
Exactly.
So the point is, you don't lean into it.
You just don't lean into it.
Lean into love more, you reckon?
Yeah, absolutely. I love you.
Yeah, I love you. Love you so much. I like to think of life as in a very simplified way. They say life is all about balance. Everything's all about balance, and it's true, because we simply don't know dark without light, yin without yang, night without day, all the things, good without evil, right? There's always a balance of scales. It's a concept of relativity. There's a dichotomous nature in absolutely everything in life. So if hate exists, that means love does equally as well. But how do you want to achieve the balance, or like knowing that both are going to coexist at all times? What are you going to wake up and fucking choose every single day of your life? You're going to choose to hate on yourself and hate on others, or you're going to step into light and love? And that same thing applies. It's a concept of relativity. Everything's relative, right?
Yes, everything. I think it's like, just like, I try to live my life. And I'm a PK kid. I'm a PK kid, that, a preacher's kid. So I try to live my life like how Jesus did, like this man of like, walk the earth and just, be kind, walk in love as much as we can.
Listen, I have mad road rage. Sorry, can't even
Rage
speak.
road.
Lost my mind.
Love it.
We all have things, right? Moments of anger.
Sure.
Where we got to get shit out. But yeah, the goal would be to do exactly what you've just said, which is walk in kindness, gratitude, light, love, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's good to be okay to, to have those angry moments. I mean, Jesus, turned the table over, whatever. Remember that?
He did.
So, I mean,
You remember that moment?
nothing's wrong. Nothing's wrong with that. So yeah, just don't hurt anybody in the process.
You try not to, right?
Yeah. Try not to.
You try not to, but sometimes you hurt others when you're hurting yourself.
Ooh, well, that's good. That's good.
And that's why self-love is important too.
Absolutely.
Look, we could talk for hours, and I'm so grateful to have this time in the studio with you today. I love our conversations. Whenever we get on the phone, we always end up talking for hours, just about everything. So it's really nice to put this conversation, like one of our first on camera, hopefully of many to come.
Absolutely.
So thank you so much for being in the studio today, MeoshaBean. I cannot wait for this next chapter of your life to unfold. I'm so excited for this next chapter.
Me too.
I'm so proud of all of your achievements. And here's to the conclusive end to your Hollywood time. You may be back in due course, who knows, or find a different iteration of that type of future here out of Atlanta, Georgia. And so all blessings to you, my darling love.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure. I love you. Anytime. Anytime.
Love you. The end.
That's how you end your show?
Eyes,
The end.
My eyes are about to fall out of my head.
Oh, no.
Like you're in another world, like you zone out. You know what I'm saying?